Terrific. So it shows us live on both YouTube and Facebook. Taking a moment to just double check that. Okay, well, I'm all ready. If you are, Shannon, we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off. Well, happy Thursday to everyone. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and good morning to you. If you are first-time viewer and are first-time landing on our page, make sure that you hit the like button and the follow so you can get those alerts when we do go live. And if you are returning back with us, thank you for tuning into our live broadcast, staying informed on what's going on in the community, and of course, engaging with us. As many of you are aware, we've been doing these live broadcasts since March, so you can find a lot of them in the video section of this Facebook page. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, that's Westminster Chamber of Commerce, where we actually are live at this very moment. So if you know folks that use YouTube over Facebook, please direct them over our way, and make sure that you're sharing this video in your network so people are just as informed as you are. Now, you know I like to be incredibly engaging, and to do that, I need to know who you are and who's watching with us. You can do that by liking this video or by commenting along the way so I can give you that shout out that you deserve. Thursdays are reserved for our nonprofit corner, and as many of you are aware, I've been doing these for about 3 months now with our nonprofits, and it has opened our eyes to what many of our nonprofits continue to do during COVID, the services that they've continued to ramp up, things that they have always historically been doing, and then into the future, what ways we can support them to make sure that not only they survive, but they thrive during this time. So today we have the Five Star Education Foundation with us is their Executive Director, Shannon Hancock, to share a few words with us. Quick shout out to Crystal. Thank you for hopping on here with me, and anyone else that hops on. Make sure that you provide us with your comments or questions in the comment section of this video chat so we can get to it at the very end of the broadcast. Shannon, I'm muting myself now and you can take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Juliette. And I'm so excited to be here today. In fact, we're new members to the Westminster Chamber. I know, really exciting. So I've been the executive director of the Five Star Education Foundation for about 18 months now. And we have always historically been focused on minding the gap between our traditional K-12 education and the outside world. We are singularly focused on the Adams 12 five-star school district and this incredible community that we live in. Our organization has evolved over the years to take care of a number of needs, whether it be a focus on STEM education or technology in the classroom, teacher grants, that sort of thing. In the last 18 months, we've been highly focused on workforce development. In fact, 40% of our students in the district, 39 to 40, do not go on to any sort of higher education immediately after high school. And that's where we really felt as an organization that we could come in, and we've created mentorships, apprenticeships, internships, job shadow opportunities for students to really see what's available to them in the outside world. Our idea and goal is to make sure all of our students are career ready, whether that's immediately going into higher education because they know what they want to do and what education they need to get there, or if they've identified another career path that they're interested in and know that they can achieve that by entering the workforce directly. What we have looked at is that last decade of time when students who do not go on to higher education kind of flounder around and don't really find what they're doing. And what we're hearing from industry partners is that the entry level age is about 28. So that's not a success story. And really tapping our students into what opportunities are available to them immediately is huge. And so then get started with their lives, right? Uh, Another thing that we do is we do help our educators, and we have something called student success, excuse me, incubator funds, and think of them as a micro grant you don't pay back. So a teacher will come to us with an innovative idea and we say, yes, we want to invest in that. That is a fantastic idea. And it has to be something that can be carried on with an initial investment. So, buying something for the classroom is great as long as it's not a consumable that disappears. Giving an experience to students, fabulous, as long as they're passing the information that they learn on to other students or allowing the information that they learn to grow. And then, of course, there's always a need for funding and education. And so we have a capacity building area, and that is really our grant writing block. We teach teachers, educators, and other employees in the district how to write grants. We assist them in finding them, editing them, getting them to foundations, and really kind of growing the capacity of our local schools. And so that's everything we did before COVID. COVID hits, the world changes, it goes upside down. And, it's everyone's job to look at the immediate needs of our community. And we've really stepped up in helping the district in terms of nutrition, finding grants to help feed families and students, helping to fund the summer food program, doing scholarships for the BASE program. I don't know if you knew this, but our 5-star school district was the only school district in the state to offer summer childcare, which is absolutely amazing and so necessary. They had additional PPE needs. They had individual snack needs. They, really provided structure for those students that would either, be home alone or their parents wouldn't be able to go to work. So that's another area where we helped. We're helping in the technology area. We're helping with families that are really highly, highly impacted, maybe even on the verge of going homeless, and providing hygiene, nutrition, and basic essentials so that students can stay in our district and can continue to learn. So that's kind of what COVID has looked like for us in the last 6 months. Funny, because I think all of us thought it would be months, 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you what, I looked down the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, it's nearly been 7 months since. We are at that cusp, and I think it's a matter of, we blinked and it just flew by. But part of it was in that survival mode, in that mode of how do we help others, and where does our outreach make the most sense? And it sounds like you all have done an amazing job, tremendous job, really, in touching some areas that a lot of other organizations have not, or maybe they have, but you have it in a different capacity or more specialized. I see with us Brian Head, our past chair, existing chairman Brian Dice as well, viewing. We have a couple of comments. One quick one from Brian Dice is good morning to both you, Shannon, and myself. Thank you, Brian, for hopping on. For those of you that are just now tuning in, we have with us the 5-Star Education Foundation. Their executive director, Shannon, has shared a few words on what the organization generally does, which is a whole lot. And I've typed in many of those comments into the comment section of this broadcast so you can kind of look through them quickly. And then she also visited on, once COVID hit, what did that look like? What are some of the programs that they offered, being the first and one of the only foundations to really offer the summer type program assistance at home for those students, and creating that environment for them to continue to learn even in the absence of the traditional system. I also see Brian Head on here sharing a quick remark. Thank you for everything that you're doing in the community, Shannon. So you've got a lot of support, right? We have a lot of people in the community that know the importance of education, of putting our dollars where it makes the most sense, but of really being there and not just showing up for our kids. That being said, we're seeing that school has started back up. It started back up a little different depending on which district our kids are in. And that's come with its own challenges as well. And so from that perspective, Shannon, if you have any feedback you want to share with school starting back up, how has that looked for you all? Have you continued to do those types of at-home programs for those kids? Are you seeing a different need that's arising with that whole back to school component?
Wow, that's a loaded question, Juliet. So, first, I want to make it abundantly clear that I'm speaking on behalf of the foundation and not the school district, because they are doing amazing jobs and I am not on their communications team. So, I apologize to everyone over there if I misspeak, and I'm speaking on behalf of the foundation. Uh, you know, our schools, and I'm going to talk for being a perspective of a parent as well. I'm a parent in the school district, and I think our district's done an amazing job. I think people were really, and I'm saying this as a parent, people were a little flustered during the summer, not knowing what was going on. But what was fabulous about what they did is they communicated a clear message, and they continued to say, we will let you know in August what's going to happen. And then they did it. And so the plan wasn't changing it. The finish line wasn't shifting, if you will. And so the students in the district started about a week late, and they started with 100% online. What happened behind the scenes for online learning is phenomenal. At the end of the school year, last year, they had distributed over 8,000 Chromebooks to students to be able to learn online. And we were really proud to be able to provide some technological dollars to be able to help with that. And also work to provide Wi-Fi for families who didn't have access to consistent Wi-Fi. As the school year started again, there was a request for an additional 12,000 Chromebooks. I'm sorry, let me flip those numbers. 12,000 in the spring, 8,000 in the fall. Thank goodness. But that really gets us to 20,000 Chromebooks. And so the district did an amazing job getting those out. A lot of things shifted. The summer-based childcare program that the district runs, that wrapped up. And what came in its place is something called Learning Pods. And it's really being watched over the entire country as a model for how students could receive the assistance that they need, and parents could go to work, but they could continue with the online model. So at the beginning of the school year, Learning Pods offered students an opportunity to come to school and do their online learning in a safe, secure environment with supervision, but they did their online classes with their teachers. Imagine students with their Chromebooks and their headsets, and then someone helping with technology and just staying on track and all of the things that come into play with young kids, right? Now the district we just wrapped up online learning, and starting next week, the in-person model is going to happen, and it's going to be in-person for K through 6, and it's going to be hybrid learning for our 6 through 12 students. And that brings in a whole other slew of challenges. Really great things about in-person learning is we can put eyes on students that are at risk. Huge need. And when you look at that equity divide and the students that are all consistently needing more attention, more care, just another set of eyes on them, that is something that can happen both through the Learning Pods and now students learning 100% in person at the elementary level. This provides an opportunity for those students that don't do well with the online learning. I mean, I don't know if you guys have all taken an online class, but imagine taking 6 of them in high school with your hormones and your attention span and all of that. So as a parent of a high schooler at Legacy High School, I can tell you I'm super excited about the hybrid learning plan. And I think the district's done a wonderful job in planning the safety of our students. But let me talk to you about what we can do as a foundation. As a foundation, we're complementing this by bringing in dollars for technology, whether it's headsets, more of those Chromebooks. Guess what? All of the power supply cords start getting frayed and worn out when they're at home. They need maintenance, that sort of thing. And so we're really bringing in dollars to help in that area. Our students still need food. This need has not gone away. In fact, the request for assistance have gone up tenfold in the last month, and we expect those numbers to continue to rise. So we've been really fortunate. Like I said, the finish line continues to move because USDA told us that the summer food money that the district was receiving, which did not meet all of the need, but was a huge part of it, those dollars would go away once school started back up. And USDA just came back to the table here at the end of September and said, hey, guess what? We'll help pay for food still. So, it's the constantly, the target's always moving, but it never fully meets the need. And so we're continuing with nutrition assistance. We're continuing to help with those families that have been suddenly and highly impacted to get them resources that they need. And by what I'm saying is we bring money to the table to help these amazing systems at our school district continue to operate at a much higher level. Grant writing has become essential. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that you touched on a lot of good points, and I know that question was loaded and it was kind of out of field. Usually, I try and kind of stick to what you've shared, but I know that you're in sync with what's going on, and that's why I really asked you that. And it helps being a parent of someone that's in the school district whose foundation that you run, because you're seeing that that in practice, right? You're experiencing it as a parent. Then you're being able to turn around and provide that support from a foundational level. I see with us, Councilor Bowles. Good morning to you as well. Thank you for hopping on and tuning in with us. Shannon, you touched on several great points, and I want to dissect those. The very last, before I lose it, and we talked about the Department of Ag coming back and saying that they'll still provide support. And there's this need, right? There's this food insecurity need that we know is there, but there's also some dollars that are out there that were going on a little bit unused. Now, I'm referencing something I tried to promote a little bit a while ago about the Families First Act. It was a COVID-19 response that was there for families that were hit hard during the pandemic if they had children, but it was not fully claimed. I think the number that I had, I'm trying to look at it quickly, was close to 33 million that was still available until the deadline that was yesterday, honestly. So we were trying to all push it out. I know the Women's Alliance and several groups, but this was dollars available in Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Denver. So is there a disconnect of what's going on? Are families still experiencing the wave of so much communication that they're missing on some of these opportunities? Or how else can we support them? Because we know the need is there, but even when we have some of the backing for it, there's a missing element to that, right?
I think that's a great question, because it's a question that as a parent and as a community member, I would ask first. It's like, wait a minute, I'm hearing about these millions of dollars coming in, and there's rental assistance and there's food assistance and there's this and that. Yes. So you have to imagine that there's a number of nonprofit organizations that are out there that have been doing their jobs. And, while, we do workforce development and teacher funding and classroom work and that sort of thing, a lot of stuff in the CTE area. And all of a sudden we're doing that, and we're looking to bring in funds for our school district to support our families. So yes, we've tried to broaden what we're doing, but it's, we've doubled our work with our staff of 2 and doing what we can and finding out what's out there and writing grants in a way that we had never written a government grant. That wasn't an area that we were in. We have families that are highly in need, and they might hear about these programs or this assistance, but it's not as easy as you might think. There's a number of reasons why a family wouldn't qualify for those funds. And I'm speaking a little bit out of turn. I want to be really clear about this because I don't normally work directly with clients. But there is you have a family that English maybe isn't their primary language. They may not be, they may not be documented. They may have concerns about COVID. They may not, there may be like, hey, my family doesn't do assistance, period. It could be that they've tried to get assistance. I mean, there's a ton of stories about people trying to get unemployment for 6, 8, 10 weeks and can't get through. And so all of our systems are just overloaded. Our teams haven't gotten any bigger. Our resources, there are those resources out there. And so I speak for all nonprofits when I say we can see those resources. We're trying to tap people into them. We're trying to get them in there, but there is an education level issue. There's a contact issue. There is a time issue. I can also tell you that there's a lot of those COVID grants coming through, and I don't mean to complain, and I thank the city so much for the money and the support that they're giving us, but to be completely honest, we've had this need for 6 months, and there's these COVID grant applications that are coming up, and they're like, okay, well, what are your needs going to be in the future? And I'm like, hey, we need to fund what we really couldn't afford to do back here. Or, there's just, those processes are incredibly complicated. Those grant applications are page after page after page and so we're going after that low-lying fruit as quickly as possible. So if anyone out there, by the way, is for putting together a grant application, especially for emergency assistance, have trust in established nonprofits that we know how to implement this as quickly as possible, and jumping through 20 pages of hoops or delaying the decision process means that we can't provide services at all. So,
And I think that's a great point. Yeah, I didn't expect that answer, and it was perfect. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. And, Shannon, you and I sidebarred last week when you came out to one of our grand opening events, which was wonderful time over at Horizons North. But one of the things that we were discussing was, as nonprofits, we were taking on so much more. We haven't let go of what we generally do, right? There's still that need that's there, but then we've added this wealth of things that we know that we have to do because it's a need that our community is asking for, right? And so when you look at us, and we both are running on a small staff, and you look at the dollars that we're trying to save, right? It's almost like we need some of those dollars to backtrack everything that we've done over this time, so we can continue to be around to do the rest of the things. And it's an interesting dynamic because a lot of it is earmarked specifically for COVID without the understanding that there's people that are running those dollars and making it work. And so it's more than just the dollars to give us to administer those things. It goes back to who is actually putting the whole framework together and servicing the people responsively in a timely manner and as simple as possible. So, I mean, I echo exactly what you're saying, and I thought that was very well said. One of the things that you mentioned, and this related to the virtual component, and every time you and I talk, I'm always like, we're in sync on things. And so you shared this, and you're like, there's a challenge for those virtual children. A lot of times it is a challenge for those that are from a less than normal home environment, right? As themed, and I hate to even use the term normal, but less than available to resources, or they need to be outside of the home environment to be able to focus on their education. You're seeing a wealth of problems that spiral out of just having one singular virtual component combined with everything else that you shared, right? So it's back-to-back classes that they're taking, it's their hormones, it's their lack of friends that they're experiencing, and so much that's there. So with that, it's nice to see that there's a next phase, right? There's this next phase that you all are moving into here in the next week or so of the hybrid approach. Do you know at all? And it's okay if you tell me no, because I know some of these numbers I'm asking you for are just, outside of your foundation. And I'm like, you were a genius. You got your hands on everything.
You got a district person.
Right? How many so in generality, when we're talking about the district itself, right? So how many kids are in the district itself? And then if we try and narrow it a little bit more, as close as we can, percentage-wise to this hybrid, how many have opted for that, a more virtual, to remain in the virtual, and then some that maybe are going in person?
Okay, so I can answer your first question because I do it on every grant form, but we have slightly over 38,000 students in our district. So imagine a little less than 3,000 kids per grade level. When you ask me the question about how many have decided to stay home and be fully online and how many are hybrid, I don't know the answer to that. And I've only seen rumors online, and I think that I would be remiss to try to quote that right now. I can tell you that one of the issues, if we really want to get into education funding issues, one of the issues is that families that desperately needed to do fully in-person learning in August, a number of those students left the district and needed to go to districts where they were offering that. So that could be Westminster or Mapleton or some other surrounding areas. That loss to our district and really the relationship with our students, which is really unfortunate, has had a huge hit. And it's a huge hit in funding. So if anyone is aware that the October count, I don't know if you're a parent, you know this, and they work really hard to have kids in schools because that's when they do an official count of bodies in classrooms. The school district gets less funding if, they get a per pupil funding. If the student isn't there that week, they do not get that funding for the entire year. If the student is learning online, there's less funding in that area. If the student went to, say, Mapleton for in-person learning and decides to come back because our district now has in-person learning, but doesn't come back before count week, Mapleton gets those dollars for the entire year. And education funding is incredibly tight. I work in the what can we do outside of the education funding sphere. So our district is, obviously they want to know for the well-being of our students where they are and what they're doing and what they need, and provide every resource possible to them. My job is to go, okay, what are the above and beyonds? What is it that is out of the ordinary that we can help with? And in these times, that is additional money for technology, additional money for PPE, additional supervision, dealing with, here's a fun one. All snacks have to be individual now, and they have to be individually packaged. And so when they were providing food on a larger level, say, a mid-morning snack for a very young student, They can't do that anymore. You can't spend, now you have to buy those individually packaged things. So we are looking for funding for nutrition. There's nutrition grants that have gone away because that were going to be granted because students were learning online for the last month. And so those nutrition grants that had always funded food for low-income students or highly impacted schools, that money is gone. So we're looking for things in that area. And I'm not sure I quite answered your question, but there's so many things for people to think about in the education funding sphere and in our schools. I can tell you with my son that we've chosen to go with the hybrid model because social emotionally, my junior needs contact with other kids, and I trust the district and the work that they're doing to keep our kids safe. And I appreciate that. And we're doing our part here at home to talk about how he needs to abide by that and get ready for that. That's not going to work for every parent, and their families have different needs. And, what I think is amazing that can come out of this, and you talked about these highly impacted students, is we can reach kids in a way that we never did before. And we can put systems in place and innovations in place that could really help with the equity gap in a way that has never happened before. And that's what's exciting that can come out of COVID and what comes from our donor dollars and from our foundation grants. And, when you're making an impact on a student, what we've been able to do when someone makes a gift to our organization is take those funds, turn them around, and find ways to reach students so that they can succeed in ways that have never happened before. So huge, huge shout out to our donors right now for that, because those systems aren't going away when COVID's done.
Yeah, no, I think that was terrific. And no, you answered it exactly how I would have wanted, because you gave me more information than I had asked for, which is perfect. And that went into the detail about, how is it affecting people whenever you started differently than other school districts, how that impacted the funding approach, which is huge for education, how it impacted kids, because now they had to look at, I leave the environment that I'm used to and the connections I've made with the faculty and staff, but to go to a situation that it does feed more of their emotional and mental health. And so at the end of the day, it does go back to that child and their individual need, but to see that their options were out there, and options, unfortunately, that also came back on the district based on those choices, were there. But that's important to recognize and to see. And we see Robin also on here with us. She's sharing hello to you, Shannon. Great to see you, and she'll be touching base with you with you soon. So I feel like that's another personal connection that you've made in the 18 months that you've been here, which seems like it's a short period of time. I think with COVID, that makes it feel like you've been here 21 years probably at this point. But it's the timing that you just shared. There's opportunity even in the situation that we're in. There's opportunity even in leading an organization through something like this. I know both you and I have taken on so much different services and filled different needs, but at the end of the day, it's filling our purpose. It's filling what we're here for, and so it makes up for that, right? So I think that's terrific. We've got a couple of minutes before I start my wrap-ups. Did you have any last minute things before I start going into what's upcoming and what things people can tune in for?
Yeah, I think people would tune into this and figure out what we do, but also how they can help. So let me lay it out. We need volunteers, and we are not a food pantry or anything like that. We need volunteers that maybe want to join a committee to talk about workforce development. Let's be honest, the conversation about unemployment and employment opportunities for our students is going to grow exponentially in the next 12 months. And there's so much talent out there that can really add to that. We need folks that want to provide their skills and their talents to our organization to make us better at what we do, whether it's marketing, graphic design, accounting, anything in those areas. We are recruiting 2 board members right now, and we really want to bring in diverse people from the community. So whether it's you're representing a part of the community that isn't on our board right now, or a skill set that isn't on our board, or a demographic that's not on our board, someone who's really passionate about our public schools and the work that we do, I'd love to have a conversation with you. And then, if your company does have the opportunity to give and to donate and where we are, I would be remiss to not say, hey, we need you. Step up, help with, whether it's basic needs or workforce development or providing opportunities for funding for teachers, whatever that looks like. Come bring it on. I'm here to talk. So I know Juliet would be happy to pass out my information, and email is always a great way to get a hold of me. So thank you all for what you do in the community. It takes all of us to make this an incredible place to live, and I love being here. So thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon. And I will tag the foundation and you yourself onto this video so folks can directly connect with you should they have an interest in volunteering and recommending folks that might be a best fit for you all. But I'm excited to see the work that you guys are continuing to do. Now, more than ever, I think our nonprofits are needing that additional support, whether it's time, manpower, or resources. And there's so many ways that you can get behind something and really be impactful by supporting our local nonprofits that are in the area. So appreciate you for hopping on here with us. And of course, everybody that's tuned in, thank you guys for hopping on, engaging with us through the comment section and feature, and for tuning in along the way. Shannon shared a variety of information about the 5-Star Education Foundation, many of which we've typed into the comment section of this broadcast. If you're just now hopping on and it's toward the end portion of this broadcast, please be sure that you rewind and rewatch. Feel free to also share this out to your network so other folks can know about the amazing resources that are at the foundation. And if they're themselves interested in connecting with the foundation, now they know who their point person is and what they would need to do. Now you know that we're here every day, and tomorrow will be no different, even though tomorrow night is our awards gala. So excited for, because it's a hybrid event. We've got masks, we've got wristbands that tell people where to go, stay away from me or come closer. We have socially distanced seating that's there, but it's an opportunity to celebrate our businesses. For those of you that were interested in coming to the gala and had not registered, know that there is a virtual feature that's available. And if there's any in-person tickets for that are open, you can find those in the events calendar when you're going to the registration page. Tomorrow will be the 11 a.m. broadcast with George Stern. George is leading the Jeffco Clerk and Recorder's office. He has held this role for about 2 years now. But now that we're approaching elections, I've shared with you guys on Fridays, I will be dedicating that toward either elections, voter engagements, or ballot initiatives that are coming out, so you can be as informed as possible at the polls. So 11 a.m. tomorrow with George Stern. Thank you to the foundation for posting more information. The website, www.5starfoundation.org, where you can find more information about our nonprofit partner from today. And of course, each and every one of you, I wish you a terrific rest of your Thursday. Shannon, stay with me as we exit out. Thank you for all that you do in the community.